All right, athletes. This is going to be audio mainly, so if you want to look at my feet while this is going, that's cool. Communication. And, you know, when we often deal with things here on the channel in the chat, we have a very specific set of guidelines that everybody's welcome to read before they enter the chat. So there is a form of communication already set in place. Much like when you walk into a restaurant, they're going to have like no shoes, no shirt, no service sort of thing. Or when you go into a parking lot, it's going to tell you where reserved parking is, things like that. There's plenty of notification in many instances when it comes to communicating before somebody from the outside decides to enter or join. So if you choose to walk into said place that has posted notification and allows you to be informed as to what the policies, procedures are in such a place, and you choose to ignore those, well, there's a consequence. And in many instances, people aren't favorable towards consequence because it directly affects them and poor choices. And that's okay. It happens. I think we've all been there. But if you choose to speed and you ignore the signage that tells you this as such, well, there's a ticket that's usually involved. And sometimes when it's egregious, you may find yourself arrested or your car taken or your license taken. It depends, the severity. So I say all that to say, with impact in mind, when we, as many people will question sometimes, why did somebody get timed out? Why did you delete their comment? Why did they get blocked? Well, because they chose to not heed and accept the communication that Impact puts out for them before entering the chat. The communication to be warned as to the nature of their behavior is not acceptable, and therefore the consequence falls in line. And you have to be consistent with it. It can't be that we allow one person to get away with X, Y, and Z and another person. We try to be as consistent across the board. It's not about whether somebody's saying something inappropriate about body shaming or whether they're being sexually explicit or whether they're talking about religion or whether they're talking about politics. The communication is clear. These are things that we would prefer not be a part of our community, and so that's what we put in place. It's not a personal issue. It's just definitely not a personal issue. But sometimes people do take it personal when they have said something egregious. And like we like to say here, we read the comments and we respond accordingly. So sometimes people do get their feelings hurt because they will cry foul afterwards and say, well, hey, you did this, this, and that. It's like, well, let's go back because we're pretty consistent. And so if you are consistent in your life with how you communicate with people and somebody is rude, aggressive, most of us are going to have a slight shift. A slight shift. We have to posture ourselves accordingly. And that's where you put up your boundaries. Doesn't mean that you're matching rude energy or being as aggressive as they are. What it's saying is you're putting up a sign that says, hey, this is a new form of communication. We don't appreciate or tolerate that sort of behavior or rhetoric. So let's dial it back. And when they don't, then steps come into play. And that's the way it should be. There should be a process that we are not punching bags or doormats. And this isn't just for Impact. This is for all of you as well. When you're in the workplace, let's go back. The workplace is too easy. Even in our personal lives, with those closest to us, whether they are parents, siblings, intimate partners, those types of behaviors still are not acceptable. And a lot of times I think people get that misconstrued. They feel like, well, that's how this person is and I care for them. Well, if they cared for you, they wouldn't put you in a position to have to consider their feelings over yours just because they can't manage their emotions or their tone. So even in the home, before you even walk out the door, it's an important place to understand that borders are okay to have up. And should you be treated a certain way, a shift in those borders, again, not matching somebody's energy or lowering yourself to their standards or getting down in the mud with them. No, you just kind of change it up. But once we leave, on the way to work, you stop off at the store and somebody is rude or they are in a particular state of mind. Well, again, we have a choice in how we address that. Sometimes we don't have to address it at all. We can just move to the next aisle. Sometimes, if we are being addressed directly, we can certainly try to calm the situation. We never want to look to escalate it. Never want to look to escalate. We want to make sure that what we're doing is putting people in the best possible situations. Now, sometimes we all are human, and so sometimes that does happen. We escalate, but let's try to get as little escalation as possible. But sometimes I think it's a warning. It's a necessary step to escalate a little bit to let this person know, hey, no, this isn't acceptable. So possibly, again, a change in tone of voice. Doesn't have to be louder. It can be more firm, more direct, maybe a little more sober, just to the point. Maybe it can be more inquisitive. Hey, what do you mean? Can you explain that? So, multiple forms of communication. Now, sometimes, again, people will get their feelings hurt over the way I know I've personally communicated with people in the chat. They don't like if I've told them to go see their father. And maybe they have a case to say that wasn't cool. But I've never gotten to a point, and I think a lot of us, we don't get to points with people where feelings have to be hurt, or we have to not consider sparing their feelings just on our own merits. It's usually that last line of communication. It's usually that before we say, okay, I'm going to just eliminate you from, in this instance, the chat, or I'm going to eliminate you from further communication with me. Because sometimes the person may be right in front of you, and that's unfortunate. But we all have to look at these forms of communication. And what are we putting up initially? Have we given enough warning? Have we given enough signage, enough introduction to say, this isn't what we do? This isn't what we do. This is not who I am. And I get we don't always have a chance to do that with the person in traffic or the person who we're just going to casually come across. But what about those who we do? Coworkers that we see on a regular basis that we may or may not know, your neighbor who you kind of see but you really don't. Do we have enough signage to give them the indication that there are certain things that, yeah, we can certainly talk. I'll certainly hear you out, but how casually are we going to talk, or is it more of a formal relationship? I think those are places to really seek out and find importance in. Because the big part with, especially being in a chat, is people are used to just saying whatever they want, and they're not saying it in front of an actual person. So people get more comfortable with that sort of thing. And even though they may not mean it like somebody a little more mean-spirited or directly trying to harm people with their words, it can sound similar. And this is where it's important to sometimes maybe ask people, what do you mean? Can you expand on that? Can you elaborate? Now, again, we're all human, and sometimes we don't always get there. But these are just thoughts. I'm just thinking aloud as I walk. I'm on a break right now from studying, and as my brain kind of gets immersed in studying, especially when it's on topics like this, it's important to kind of talk about. So it helps me be a better student by hopefully doing a little teaching. And as I teach, I can go back in and be a better student because I've kind of gone back over the material that I'm thinking of, talking about, been reading, listening to. And yeah, just thought I would put this out here. So hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully you guys can add something into the commentary here as to ways that you have dealt with communication, ways that you have put up your understandings for people to really walk into the conversation and accept, or how did somebody give you an indication as to how they are? Because, you know, as we grow, we've all been younger. Sometimes we don't quite get it. And that's what that's what I understand, and that's what a lot of us understand about some of the people we see in our chats, is they don't get it yet. So they will at one point. This is why we try to welcome them back. Hey, get it together, come back, reintroduce yourself, and let's try it again. But if you've been on one side, there's a good chance you've been on the other side. Starts even when you're younger, when your parents are telling you to look somebody in the eye and shake their hands when you're meeting them. It's a form of communication. And it's sometimes it's that first indication as to how somebody is going to interact with you moving forward. Those first impressions mean so much. So with children, it's a little different, but you learn that handshake and eye contact early on because it shows, here's a sign that says, I'm a confident person. I'm here to be respected, and I'm here to respect you as well. So we're gonna, I got a beep, so I'm not sure what that means for my microphones. Okay, apparently my microphone is okay. But again, what it says is, I'm here to be respected. I'm here to respect you. And it sets a good precedence moving forward amongst people. I know it's different in real time than it is online, but you can still extend a good first impression in either capacity. So I'm going to leave it at that. But again, guys, I would like to know what your thoughts are, your ace up the sleeve, your advice, your comment, your experience on something like this. And even just thoughts on, should I put out just more audio stuff? Because I am so appreciative that there are so many of you that will stick with the live sessions and do, as Mr. Burns says, podcast mode and a keyboard, bro. So if you enjoy some of just this, where you can drive or sit and listen to it, I would be more than happy to do it. I don't always have to be walking, so you don't hear me kind of huffing and puffing. Or maybe there's a little ASMR to it where you can hear the gravel under my feet, things like that, birds chirping, I'm not sure. But in either case, guys, I hope this finds everybody in your place, pursuit or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. And you know, like we like to say, HWPO, that means hard work pays off, and this is the Impact Athletics Association. And you might want to look now, because I'm going to put up some videos that you can click on, and there's a subscription button. So share this stuff and pass it around, guys. We'll see you soon.